So here's how you measure how good the Buccaneers' practice was against the Pittsburgh Steelers when they went up against them here in Pittsburgh for about 2 hours on Thursday. They've decided not to play certain people because they were so dominant that they don't want to risk them being in a preseason game. So after the practice, Mike Evans was just killing people, right? And he was so good, and Baker was so good, and frankly, so was Emeka Egbuka and Jalen McMillan. But they announced, or Todd Bowles announced after practice that, you know what, we think that Mike and we're going to play all. We're going to play all our starters, which was a declaration he hadn't made yet. And then he says, but everybody except Mike and Lavonte, they did enough today, right? Well, that makes sense. You're two of your oldest players, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, they are really the two oldest of any regulars, of course.
Yeah, literally the oldest, yeah.
Maybe both in their final years. Lavonte, I think, is. Mike, we'll see.
Yeah. Tell you what, though, I mean, the way Mike is playing, and you don't know. I mean, they haven't played a game that matters, and you're not tackling guys to the ground. So when you start, ramping up the that sort of thing, then it changes. But Jalen Ramsey's an all-pro corner, right? All-pro defensive back, and they just came over. And from the first snap, he's talking all kinds of smack, right? Just going at it with the officials, with the receivers, everybody. And Mike's just toasting him. Like, sometimes in zone, sometimes in man. It didn't matter. Like, it just didn't matter. Like, when they wanted to go to the end zone and they went to Mike, or they had to, they're in a 2-minute. Like, the dude, he has such a large radius for, to catch the football, and he's so physical. He runs good routes. He's faster than people think. When you watch him, you can't believe that, he's 32 years old. He just makes play after play, and Baker had a good day. I mean, Baker was throwing some dimes out there and squeezing it into coverage, and Jalen McMillan was making plays, and I'm telling you, if you're a fantasy football player, and I'm not, right? I suck at it. That's why I don't do it, and I don't have time anyway. But I'd be damned if I wouldn't take Emeka Egbuka fairly high. I mean, this cat just gets open, right? He just knows how to get open, and he catches everything, And so they're just kind of shredding him a little bit in the red zone, 7-on-7, and then they get to the 2-minute, right? And they go bip 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 down the field, and they get to like fourth down, and the clock is down to 4 seconds. And Tomlin, they got officials at this thing, and Tomlin calls timeout. And Tomlin's screaming at Baker. He's like, I just want to see what it looks like, Baker. I just want to take a look, And he's trying to psych him out. And so they reset the ball, and they go. And then, of course, Baker throws a touchdown pass to Mike Evans, and game over. The defense played pretty well. They're really against the run. They were really stout. They looked great against the run. And just watching Aaron Rodgers, like, Metcalf and him are okay. Like, Metcalf doesn't catch everything. He kind of fights his hands a little bit at times. I haven't watched him play a lot. He can get open, but there really wasn't any rhythm to their offense. It was just kind of like, okay, play here, okay, bad play there, okay, drop here, force throw there. I wasn't impressed at all, and I kind of thought, a couple of years ago when Rodgers was playing for the Jets, that first year he was there before he got hurt in the first game, he was throwing the ball really well. Like he made plays. Now, he'd have been sacked a bunch because the Jets' offensive line wasn't any good. But on this practice, I was just like, I think Trask could have done that. Like, you know what I mean? It was kind of like 50%, and just.
What was it? Him not throwing well, or is it part of just still getting to?
I don't know. He throws,
getting used to the offense, and
it could have been some of that.
Receivers, and
could be all of it, right? Like, it could be all of that. It could be Arthur Smith isn't a good fit for him. He throws a lot, like, kind of like rolling to his left, kind of off platform. Back across his body, like, they're tough throws. He still he throws the prettiest ball you've ever seen, but he missed some guys, and some guys got hit and dropped the ball. There wasn't any rhythm to it. When you watch the Bucs and you watch Baker, when he's protected, and he'd have been hit a few times too, but in the 2-minute situation or the red zone, or they do this thing where they have 7 tries for a 2-point conversion, and I think they won 4-3 basically. But there's just so much more rhythm to it, and just movement, and playmaking. Almost every snap, that it's really impressive. And that collection of receiver, if you start the season with Mike, Abuka, and McMillan, you're fine. Like, you're fine. I know they want Chris Godwin back, and he'll come back at some point, God willing. But like, they're loaded there. You know what I mean? Somebody's going to be open, and Baker finds them, and Baker's accurate, and he makes the right reads, and he's playing with confidence. And I thought it was interesting because like I said, after the practice, he announced that you weren't going to have Mike play, and he wasn't going to have Lavonte play. And then he called me, he being Todd Bowles, and said, I didn't want to be a liar, so I looked at the film, and Baker did enough. We're not going to play him either. So it's like, I think Baker's done for the preseason. I can't imagine you played him in the last game, unless you just want him out there, with his guys for a series to hand off or something.
Yeah, and in front of the home crowd too.
Maybe, right? It's against the Bills. Just to say he was in a preseason game, but that's how good that they've looked on offense. And then defensively, they couldn't. The Steelers could not run the ball on them at all. Like, the Bucs defense was hitting guys in the backfield consistently, and they were not moving that defensive line. Like, Vita Vea and Kansi, they just live in the backfield. They live in the backfield. I don't want to give away my interview. I sat down with Todd Bowles in the morning, like around 10 o'clock, and he came in. We talked about a lot of things. So it's, the thing about Todd is, I wish people could have the sort of the vantage point that we do that cover the team. And especially, like, Todd is real guarded at the podium, and he just doesn't give you much, kind of protects players and that sort of thing. And I think it's because he was a player, to be honest with you. But regardless, like, when you get him in a room one-on-one, he's not just a good interview, he's a fantastic interview. Like, he's as good as any coach I've covered. He just doesn't give that to you unless you're just there one-on-one. And man, he was great. He was great, just talking about everything. And there's just so much that, after 3 years as a head coach, and getting close, but then not getting over the hump, and what it would take. But he did say one thing I'll share just on the podcast real quick. We started talking about defense. Obviously, it always gets back to defense. Because I was saying to him, I was like, how many of these defenses, even the ones that you coached, right, to the Super Bowl, how many of those teams, although Brady did average a lot of points, but like, how many of the teams in Tampa's history would have killed for an offense that could put up 28.5, 29 points a game? Are you kidding me? Can you imagine if you'd have given some of those defenses 28 points a game? My God, would they have lost? And it's kind of like, defense has been their DNA, but these, at least last year, because of injuries and other things, they struggled. And it's like, kind of like, what's going to get you over the hump, But one thing he said, because we were talking about Winfield, who turns out just has a hamstring that's like barking at him. So they're not real concerned about that, but they're going to shut him down because it was kind of, he tweaked it, or, he felt it or whatever. And that makes sense. But what he told me? He goes, we went around the defense, and we got to Vita Vea. And he said to me, he goes, yeah, we can't play without him. Like, I can mix and match and backfill and, do different things. He goes, it doesn't work without Vita. Vita Vea is nobody like him, and we just can't play very well without him.
Well, he doesn't have a replacement chess piece.
There's nobody like him. Yeah.
And even you have to Without him, you almost have to change your scheme, and you can't just do that.
Right. I mean, he just occupies so much up front, and then him and Cansey have learned to kind of play off each other. Totally different body types. One is speed, one is power. And the thing is, and this is true too, if you look at Vita last year, these last 2 years, and I think this will be another good year for him. He's 30 years old. He's not a spring chicken. But in the last 3 years, 2 years for sure, he's in the best shape he's ever played at since he's been a Buck. Like, he's in tremendous shape. And, this guy, as Bowles reminded me, because he was a running back. I was like, yeah, I've seen his high school tape. I said, but that's been a few pounds ago. But he's actually trimmed up, and worked out with Sue these last couple off seasons. He looks great. And he's a problem. Like, there's nobody you think about in the league, I go, who else is like him? And he named a player or two. But there wasn't many. And he just said, he goes, it just doesn't, I can mix and match and do some smoke and mirrors and things like that. He goes, if we don't have Vita, it's different. It's just different. So I don't think I've given that guy enough credit for what success they have. Just to hear him talk about it. I said, well, if you're going to use him as a fullback, and they have before on the goal line, I go, at some point, you have to give the guy a ball. Like, you got to give him the ball. Like, you need a big man touchdown, right? You got to reward him for plowing in there and knocking people silly. And he goes, yeah, at some point, maybe. He wasn't real hip about it. But yeah, so that was interesting. A lot of stuff that I'll have. I'm kind of where I do my interviews for the preseason section that we put out, usually the week of the first game or whatever. But I'm going to sit down and talk to a bunch of guys this weekend. But I wish people, and I screwed up because I taped it on the wrong thing, but I wish people could just have the opportunity to talk to Todd and just see his personality. I mean, we laughed, and he's funny. He's self-deprecating. He hasn't had an off season in 3 years, like not one, because he's been interviewing offensive coordinators. Both of his sons last year had shoulder surgery, both of them.
Yep.
So he's having to sit with them while he's interviewing people. So it was interesting. It was a good conversation, but we'll get to more of the details later. But so they had a good day. Bucs had a good day. Bucs, I was talking to Tom Moore afterwards, and he goes, "What do you think?" I go, "Bucs won this game. If this was a game, if this is a regular season game, and you guys had to play the Steelers, you win because they out-executed them. Pure and simple. Like, it wasn't even a debate. They didn't win every rep, but they won their share, more than their share, clearly more than their share, especially on offense. That offense is a problem. And one thing about it is, though, and I'm not a huge fan of this, and it's going to be interesting to see how it evolves, but there's an obvious recognition on the part of Josh Grizzard that without Tristan Wirfs, we're just different, right? We have to be different. We cannot do exactly what we want to do. And what I mean by that is, that ball is coming out so fast, and you see just screen right, hitch left, lot of short passes, man, a lot of them. Now, they did hit some down the field, early, and they were good throws. But I almost can feel like, Grizzard is preparing to be a little bit under siege and on their heels a little bit in the passing game. And I think you're going to see Bucky Irving, who's, watching Bucky they're throwing a ton of passes to Bucky Irving, and he makes a lot of yards after the catch. Ton of passes, to obviously to the wide receivers, to the tight ends. Sean Tucker is a really good receiver. And he's so quick that, by his second step, man, he's at full speed. And so he's getting a ton of reps since Rachaad White is out. Tucker looked really good today. They can play offense. Now, there's no question this team can play offense. If they can protect Baker, they can run the ball.
Well, you averaged 28 points last season. You have every starter back. Now, we know Wirfs is going to miss a few games, but if you can't play offense, you got problems.
Yeah, I mean, you will. And the thing is, if they just improve the defense, and Saracier Dennis looks really good, and I think they're going to be better. I think they're going to be better on defense. They have to be. It's unfortunate, Benjamin Morrison is out. Jacob Parrish is a stud, by the way. He can play anywhere back there. Tyke, we didn't have Winfield Jr., so they had Izzy in at safety with Tyke, and they were fine. I wouldn't want to go the season that way, but they were fine. So yeah, it's an interesting team. They have a chance to get better as they get healthier, assuming no one else goes down. But Bowles is playing it pretty safe, like especially with Mike and his quarterbacks. It's like we get all these guys the work they need in these scrimmages where they can't be tackled and they're not going to risk a lot of injury, and then I'm not going to play them in the games. And I don't really think it matters to some of those guys, not Mike and certainly not Lavonte. Baker may or may not play the third game. I don't know. I thought he was slated to play this one, and after practice, Bowles said that only Mike and Lavonte were out. But then when he thought better of it, he gave me a call. It was, I don't want to be a liar. I think I went back and watched the film, and Baker was really good. I'm not going to play him.
Well, that also leads me to believe Teddy Bridgewater will play this week.
He told me he would. He said Teddy's. We're going to go with Teddy and Kyle.
Yeah, it's easier. It's easier to say Baker's not going to play if Bridgewater is going to play.
Now Teddy, I will say this: I don't know how much offense he knows. Like just kind of watching him, he's limited clearly, but he's picking it up quick. He didn't have a great day throwing the football, and he didn't get a ton of reps either. But he was in on the 7-on-7s and stuff like that. I think he looked better, previous days than he did today. But he's a quick study and he's picking it up and he knows enough to at least function back there and not get himself hurt.
Yep.
So you'll get to see him, and I think that's what preseason's for. Really, is to get your backups ready. I mean, how much does Baker need when they're able to tackle you? Maybe in the third game he plays a series or two just so he can stand in there and see what it feels like again. But I'm telling you, I would be such a chicken when it comes to stuff like this. I just would. Like, I wouldn't play anybody, man. And especially with these practices, because they do get good work. It was hot. It was unbelievable.
I mean, Todd's got the advantage of the whole offense is back.
That's the thing.
There's not one new starter outside of Charlie Heck is probably going to start at left tackle at this point.
Yeah, he will.
Barring another injury or anything.
No, they're all back.
Godwin's not going to start.
Godwin's out, but you got a Mecca, which is a better than average replacement, obviously.
Right. But I mean, everyone except Ibuka, who's a rookie, is back essentially.
Yeah,
you have the advantage of going. We don't need to play anybody.
Right.
They're getting the work done in practice.
Tryouts are over, is what you're saying.
Yeah, the tryouts are over, but they have the chemistry. They know each other, but they're also performing in practice. So you're going, okay, we're good.
Yeah. No, they're performing at a high level. The execution's been really good.
Some teams are doing it differently. Mm-hmm. Like we've talked about the Bengals, who are playing Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase more because they've gotten off to such slow starts the last few years.
Yeah, they're trying to stop something that may or may not have to do with their practice habits, but they're at least attempting to do it because they want to start faster. Or
just getting in a better chemistry and better rhythm early instead of trying to find it the first game or two.
Right. Each team is different, man.
Yeah. Yeah, but Todd Bowles has that luxury of everyone's back.
Everyone's back, and they scored a ton of points, and yet
from a really good offense.
You just need some defense. Like, if you're going to get 28 points a game, man, you should win them all, right? Like, if you can go out there and roll up 28, 30 points a game, there's not many games you should lose.
Correct.
So they just have to get back to being an average Bucs defense. They don't have to be the 02 Bucs or even the 2020 Bucs. They just have to be an average or above, just slightly above. And that offense is better than it was last year. They got some dudes now. Like, they really do. It's impressive. But, I was watching, TJ Watt, right? TJ Swat. And you know what? They were blocking them, Like, Pittsburgh has some good players. Ramsey's a really good player. Made a lot of Pro Bowls. Couldn't cover Mike. Couldn't cover McMillan. Like, they were torching those guys. It was something to watch. So we'll see. I got him in the Super Bowl, and I got all the other players in Canton, Ohio right now. So it's good. It's all good.
Excellent.
Pittsburgh's an interesting city. Have you spent a lot of time here at all? I just didn't know if when you're doing baseball.
I mean, it's been a long time. My mom actually grew up outside of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, mine did too. Uniontown.
Yeah, mine grew up in Connellsville, which is a small town south.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Mine was in Uniontown. It's a beautiful city. The downtown is gorgeous with on the river and all that. And then PNC Park, man, what a beautiful baseball
That
park.
park is phenomenal.
Wow. Yeah.
It's top 3 in baseball.
Is it top 3?
It's my number 3.
Man, aesthetically, it's hard to imagine there's very many others. I mean, the one in San Francisco is beautiful too.
That's number 1, and it's because you can sit behind home plate and just the view.
It's incredible.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like that's what I love. I don't like parks that are built up in the outfield and you can't see out. San Diego's my number 2.
I heard.
I love Petco Park.
I haven't been in Petco. I obviously watched it get built, and I was all around that area down there. But I'd love to watch the game there.
Yep, and PNC's right there with it. Like those are you could 2A, 2B if you really wanted, but
it's cool because it's massive park outside. But they got some statues. They got one that's terrific of Roberto Clemente, and then another of Willie Stargell, which is fantastic. Like whoever commissioned to do these statues did a really nice job.
Yeah. Well, they should put up Paul Skeens now because he's the only reason to even worry about the Pirates at this point.
Yeah. I thought I was going to see Livy Dunn in the gift shop or something. I decided to do something that was stupid, but I didn't know it. I walked right from my hotel, which is downtown. I walked to Accenture Stadium, whatever they call it these days.
Acrisure,
or something like that. Yeah, Acrisure actually, and had no clue where I was going. Kind of just followed the river a little bit, but it was so like the sun was so bright and just hot. Not really temperature wise. I mean, humidity was crazy. It was bad. They're under a heat dome of some kind too here. But yeah, I just walked, and it was way further than they told me it was. So I got the Uber home after that. But it's so nice down on the river. Walking across those bridges, and you can see everything. So the Pirates should be better because in my lifetime, I mean, they're cheap, right? They're in that Tampa Bay Rays zone a little bit.
That's part of it is.
Yeah.
Except they don't invest in the Tampa Bay doesn't spend as much on payroll, but they invest in the analytics and the scouting and the this. Pittsburgh doesn't even do that very well.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me because it's a gem. I mean, they won here before. They certainly could do it again. It's a cool stadium too. It's massive.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's really pretty. And then, going over to the football stadium, which is just a couple blocks down. Will call is always on the opposite side that you walk in, so it took me forever to get onto the field. And then when I did, I was like, "Oh my God, we're going to die of heat exhaustion out here." But that's football. That's football practice. Like those guys, I hope came back and took a shower and crashed because that's really all I wanted to do, except I had a story to write. Anyway, we've got some mailbag questions coming up here in just a second. But first I want to remind you guys, actually plead, beg, borrow, whatever. Get on down to Breitling Boutique. That's an International Plaza Mall. The Breitling company has been making beautiful Swiss watches now for over 140 years. They've been in International Plaza Mall for 5+ years. And if you're looking for a great timepiece, this is a place to go. You go in there, spend some time in the store. They're going to pour you a drink. You're going to learn about their products for the men, the chronomats, the Navitimers. Women, they have sports watches for your wife or your girlfriend. These things are really durable. If she bangs some jewelry around, it's going to do just fine and look beautiful. And she can choose from an array of different colored wristbands. And while supplies last, and that's the key, Breitling Boutique has featured 32 team NFL watches. These are watches that represent all 32 teams with the logo, the colors of the team on the face. You got to see them. It's absolutely stunning. Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Please let them know that you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. All right, we got a couple of mailbag questions to end the week. Let's get it going.
All right, Scott had commented on their Spotify podcast. He says, do you think it pisses Baker Mayfield off that the perception is that any offensive coordinator that can make Baker Mayfield look good must be a savant? Could it be could it be that Baker's making these guys look good and they're succeeding because of him?
Yeah, I'd say the latter is probably true. I mean, if you think about it, it's remarkable, right? He's had like 8 coordinators, right? He's averaging at least one a year, I think. And for all the good things they've done, and I think, Dave Canales, who had never called plays, comes from Seattle. He was good for Baker at the time, right? He was probably what Baker needed a little bit, because he was, as Baker calls him, the optimist bully. Like, he was always positive. Didn't matter if you got beat 60-0. He'd come the next day. Hey guys, what's going on? How you guys doing? It's like, easy, Sparky. But he was like that with his team all the time. Didn't try to sugarcoat anything, but he was just always up. And all I care about if I have a coach is just be consistent. If you're an a-hole or something like that, just be that every day. Don't be great guy one day and the other the next. So you had him, and then Liam, who is a really good play caller and good schematically, put in a system that gave Baker answers to the test. He could switch certain plays, and you saw Liam was phenomenal as an offensive coordinator, right? And now you have Josh Grizzard, which we know nothing about in terms of play calling, but boy, the coaches that are around him rave about him every day, every day. And in the preseason game, one of the things they really liked is that when the game was sort of in control of the Bucs, everybody knew they were going to run the football, and they did. They ran it successfully, and it was kind of an attitude thing. And Grizz, to his credit, kept calling the running plays. Just wanted to pound it. So, yeah, it's hard. It's hard, man. It's hard on Todd Bowles to have a new offensive coordinator every year. It's hard on Baker Mayfield, but he makes a lot of guys look good. He really does. He's a really good player. Like, Baker is a very good player. When I'm on the field level, especially because he's not that tall, right? It's hard to see over those guys. When you're on the field level, you get a real feel for that. He throws with such great anticipation. He does not throw to a receiver. He throws to a spot. And his accuracy is pretty damn good. And he just makes a lot of plays, man. Right, left, forward, back, whatever it is. He just kind of makes ball plays. So,
all right, Cigar Man asks, which undrafted free agents have you been impressed with the most? And if you had to say, who would get spots on the 53-man roster of those undrafted free agents?
all right, well, you saw it in the first preseason game. The guy that stood out the most was Nick Jackson. I think he has the best chance of an undrafted free agent to make this team. Uh, he went out there and had 6 tackles that led the Bucs. He had 2 for loss, had a sack, the interception, a quarterback hit. The interception was after a deflected pass by John Bullock, the Nebraska linebacker. He too is a dark horse. One of those guys is going to make the regular roster when they cut it down to 53, and one is definitely going on the practice squad. So, good news, bad news, but those 2 guys have been phenomenal, I think. Undrafted, we haven't seen Williams, the running back from LSU. He's been nicked up. He's a really good player. Man,
we've talked about Shiloh.
Shiloh is in it, but Shiloh's going to need some help, and he's getting it with injuries now, are starting to mount. He's definitely in it. He didn't have a very noteworthy day. Not to say he played bad. I just don't know, because there was nothing that really stood out.
Mm-hmm.
And then there, we said undrafted free agents, but there's some lower drafted, guys that I think are really, really good. And, one of them is Tez Johnson. Like, Tez Johnson can play. He's just a player. Like, he can play.
Yep.
We talked about the other day about their punting and kicking game is as good as anybody's in the league. Like, they have a lot of boxes, man. A lot of boxes are checked for this team.
Yep, it sure is.
And it's veterans that are behind the linebackers. They already got Deion Jones and Anthony Nelson. Now they're going to have to make a decision. Also, Anthony Walker Jr. So you'll keep probably just one of those linebackers, I would think. And the defensive backs, their draft picks are phenomenal. But then, you still have Funderburk. You still have Kendall Vildor has looked good at times. So they've done a nice job filling out the roster. undrafted guys that are playing a lot in the practice because a lot of their starters have been nicked up, and now it's starting to hurt guys like Morrison and some of the young players that need to get out there, and that's what you hope is that you can see them. Um, you know, it's going to be a hard team to make because everybody's back on offense.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys are back on defense. They have some upgrades and some depth, but this is a team that's been together and won. And you know, it's to be a newcomer on this team, you have to do something really special. I think Jackson has. I think Jackson has separated himself. He's a good football player. He just gets ball. He's just one of those guys like just understands it. That's why he makes so many plays. But yeah, not going to be too many. Really won't. And I still think Shiloh will have a place on the practice squad if he doesn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
But they can continue to get injuries at the safety position. He may find himself starting before long. They went with Izian back there with Tyke, with Winfield out, and so that's the first safety in is Christian Izian, which makes sense. He does a good
Yep.
job, but he's not.
Mm-hmm.
No one's Antoine Winfield Jr. Like that dude has to come back, and he's got to come back to his old self.
Yep. All right. Freddie had a question on another undrafted free agent. He says, "Is it possible that Desmond Watson can be stashed on the non-football injury illness list all year and be paid, with the idea of bringing him back next year in football shape?"
Yeah, the problem is I don't think you get paid for NFI. I think NFI is one of those where it's non-football, so nobody really has to pay you your salary per se. They do want him around. I think if you're going to go through this with him, and you're going to get him on a weight loss drug, and you're going to march him out, and he's up here, everywhere the Bucs goes, he's there, and he's on the field and continuing to work at it. I kind of think you got to keep him around at least on the practice squad. Now, why he's on NFI, for being obese or whatever, you don't have to pay him, but no one's getting paid a lot right now. So I'm curious what they're going to do with him. He's up here, walking around in this heat, on that carpet, sweating, doing what he does to try to get himself into shape. And at some point, they got to say you're going to play football or you're not. Like what's the magic number? And I think they have one. They don't want to share it with me,
Mm-hmm.
but they definitely have one, and it's under 4, in my opinion. I think it's close or under 4. And I couldn't tell you what he weighs. Like I have no clue. But
Yeah.
I will say that what he did weigh when he got here, the estimates are a lot lower than the actuality. He weighed more than people were even saying, and they were saying he weighed 450,
Wow.
and he was in excess of that. I think 460 when he came out of college. But yeah, he but now, I mean, I can tell that he's lost some weight. I don't know, in terms of pounds what they're looking for, but he's definitely put in the work. And again, he's you can't stash him. You won't get paid on NFI. So I'm not sure what they will do, but I kind of think, I mean, they only got 1 or 2 more weeks to really deal with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they got to do something. And he could just end up getting waived injured for
Yep.
now. You know, no one's going to claim him. I don't think. It's a weird thing. Like it's a damnedest thing. Like somebody in that organization is convinced he can help them do something, or they wouldn't be investing as much in him. And the biggest thing is to make him healthier, right? Make the
Mm-hmm.
guy healthy so he can have a nice life. Um, but it's interesting how much time they've spent. And hopefully Dez gets on the field. Hopefully he gets to play football, which is his dream. But
Mm-hmm.
preseason is gone, and I don't see him playing next week. So he's going to spend the entire preseason probably on NFI.
All right. Patrick had tweeted. He says, "You guys have talked about the Tom Brady statue out front of Raymond James Stadium.
Yep.
My best friend Dale Kim suggested the Bucs have Tom Brady throwing the Lombardi Trophy at the front of the pirate ship inside the stadium. Thoughts?"
Okay. Well, I mean, you could do that, but that's that pirate ship is iconic for years and years. It's not specific, and obviously, the throwing of the part of the Lombardi was in the Hillsborough River off his boat, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's 20 whatever it was, or 30 foot whatever, and it was the not only did he throw it, he was tossing it to his teammates. One of those being Cameron Brate, who caught it, thank God. But I don't think it works in the stadium because I think the pirate ship is already iconic. I think you can't
Mm-hmm.
you can't try to force ornaments on it, right? Like it is what it is. It's iconic, and so what I picture, and I hope they do it one day. They probably won't, but what I picture is, Brady in one boat, some kind of water in between, right? They could dig out a stream in there, and or have rocks in it or whatever. Tossing that thing and somehow suspend the Lombardi Trophy, which they can do, to another boat or partial boat, which Cam Brate is on with his outstretched hands. Like it's not that difficult or elaborate of a recreation, but man, it would be phenomenal. And I can see it near Buccaneer Beach in the south end zone, and you got like a little, body of water running through it. It'd be cool as hell. Either that or you do the statue of him getting off the boat, smashed on avocado tequila,
Yep.
and leaning on Ryan Griffin. And then you have two statues. You have a statue of Ryan Griffin holding up Tom Brady. Like those are the two.
I wonder if
biggest
they'll do
images.
that kind of stuff when they do the renovations, whenever that comes.
Yeah, probably wait for that. That makes sense. Look, I think Bob Kraft is going to find a way to bring Tom Brady back every year. Last year it was to go into the Patriots Ring of Honor, and that's fine because that's where he played the most. This year they unveiled his statue, which is statue. It isn't the worst I've seen, but proportionately, like Tom's about 12 feet tall. Like it doesn't make sense. And he's got this tiny head. Everybody's saying like he's got a tiny head for that big body, and he does. But I don't know if that's the scale or what. But he needs a statue here for sure. A lot of guys do though.
Yep. Well, that's why I wonder if whenever they renovate and do whatever they're going to do, I wonder if they're going to plan for an area like that.
It'd be a good time to do it. Yeah, be a really good time to do it. It'd be fun.
But you don't want to do it now because you may have to change it or whatever else.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't know exactly what the stadium's going to be or where and what it's going to look like.
Yep. All right, LB had tweeted. He says, "Is it strange that Hugh Culverhouse isn't in the Bucs Ring of Honor? Obviously, he was a despicable owner of the team, but he is the first owner, and I'm kind of surprised that the Glazers didn't acknowledge him. Not saying he deserves it, but I'm just a little surprised. Also, this is a cue for you to do your Hugh voice. It's one of the funniest you do."
There's so few people that remember Hugh Culverhouse, I'm telling you. There's so few. When he was stood up by Bill Parcells the first time and he did the Dionne Warwick song, or was it Bo Jackson? Like, there was some event, either Bo Jackson stood him up or Parcells. He's like, I was driving over the bridge today and I was listening to Dionne Warwick. Keep smiling, keep shining. That's what friends are for. We're like, what? You just lost another, quarterback, coach, Parcells, whatever. Somebody else left him at the altar. No, 1,000 times no, Hugh Culverhouse does not belong in the Ring of Honor. Simply because he was the first owner, right, by default, however the NFL selected him. And he was a member of, a lot of important committees. But those committees did nothing except keep salaries down. He was a member, he was the head of the management council, and he fought the union on everything. And he was mad at a nickel. It wasn't a dime. Trust me. I mean, the guy, he just was just so tight with everything. That's why for all those years, quite frankly, they practiced at Buccaneer Beach out there off of runway 36 right. It was a little cinder block building. They just kept adding trailers to it, and the Glazers actually added more of those once they got in power. But Hugh Culverhouse didn't really win anything. He was the owner when Doug got here, and it was really McKay's time and his team. So other than writing checks and being obnoxious, I don't think he does belong. I mean, what, just by virtue of the fact you were the first owner? Okay, that's a pretty low bar though. You just happen to have enough money to buy a football team.
Well, the first owner of the Rays is not in their Ring of Honor or whatever, the Hall of Fame.
Vince Namoli?
Namoli, yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't a good owner.
Yeah. Now, Espo is in the Lightning one. But
Espo is the father of the Lightning. Let's be honest, right? There's no hockey in Florida without Espo.
Correct.
And yes, he told them everything they wanted to hear. Have you got $100 million? Yep, I got it. Just didn't. What, you got a place to play? Uh-huh. Yeah, we do. I mean, talk about, devoted and task oriented.
Mm-hmm.
Phil just said, just say yes and we'll figure it out later. And he did.
Yep.
Kokosai Green. Are you kidding me?
And he still swears that when he went over to Japan to ask for money and he said they're hockey and they went sake, and he's like, oh yeah, you give me money for that.
They probably thought they were. That's so funny. He has so many funny stories, but you know what? May not be that far fetched, to be honest with you. It's so good. Hockey, they thought I said sake.
Yeah.
I love
so
it.
after they announced, he also said after they announced, the team's going to Ottawa and Tampa.
Yeah.
And the owners are like, what do we do now? And he's like, now you pay.
Now you pay. I love it. Well, I'll tell you what. There's a lot of players like playing down here, and especially for that organization, but just in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have a choice, and I knew a lot of them, they all grew up in Canada or whatever, but man, play golf year round,
Well, that's a big part of it too. But you'll hear from the player surveys and things like that. Like the Lightning take care of their players as well as anybody.
Financially, you mean?
Well, the facilities,
Yeah.
the taking care of families,
Yeah, that's important.
all that stuff. Like
A good organization, yeah.
You hear, the Lightning's probably aren't the best facilities. The arena's 30 years old. It's not like the new ones like in Edmonton and that. But
yeah,
you hear other teams where they don't even have a sauna.
Oh, geez.
For the players and this, that, and you hear those things, and players talk about that.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
Sometimes it's simple things like that. You, after a workout, you want to do, and you don't have that. You don't have this, this facility or this part, of rehab or cool down or whatever. The Lightning take care of their, there's other organizations that do too, but they're well known for, it's the no taxes, the sunshine, all that, but it's also they take care of their players. They take care of their families.
Well, that's good.
They're well known for that, where there's some teams that are known for being cheap with that stuff.
And that's Jeffrey Vinik. That's 100% Jeffrey Vinik, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Who's been a great owner. And I think whatever happens with Stuart Sternberg and the Rays, I think it's going to be tough to not have Vinik around as much or in charge.
Yeah, he sold the team a year ago. Now he's still running it for another 2 years at this point.
Yeah, but once that's over, man.
Mm-hmm. Now you hope the new owners, and so far they seem like they're going to continue on and do the same things that Mr. Vinik did, and
they should,
including in the community as well.
Right.
But look, Stu Sturmer is going to be missed too, and I know. Stadium-wise, in that part of it, he's not good. I can tell you that, first of all, you don't have as good of a baseball team without the freedom he's given his front office for 15 years now to try new things, do different things, be different, break rules. And look at in the last 15 years, the three teams with the most wins are the Dodgers, Yankees, and Rays. Really? And I'll also tell you that the staff and everyone who works for the Rays loves Stu Sternberg. Loves him. The employees there are not happy about a sale. Now, things may get better. You don't know. Part of it's the unknown as well. But his employees love him. They're not the people that work for the Rays are not happy that this is happening. A lot of people externally are. And the team may get better, and they may put more money in it, and things can get better. But it's kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah,
he didn't do well in negotiating stages, whether it was the 3 years he had to negotiate in Tampa, and then they announced the Ybor one 6 months before the 3-year window ended,
right,
and didn't have enough time in this, or all the stadium things over the years, and he hasn't handled the PR part right, and some of those relationships and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of he's to blame for that. But when it came to running a baseball team, when it came to the staff that works for him, they love him. And what he's done with the baseball team and hiring Andrew Friedman and Joe Madden, and then Eric Neander and Kevin Cash, and letting them do their things in their departments. And, it's unheard of for a small market team like the Rays to be this good for this long. In 15 years, they've been good there was a couple years. It wasn't a full rebuild. I mean, they had some down years, but they didn't do what the Orioles did or the Astros or the Cubs that were bad for so many years, or the Pirates who are perpetually bad.
Right.
I mean, it's 15 years of really good baseball here. That's unheard of in that sport with the inequities of the financial system.
Mm-hmm.
And, he should be given a lot of praise for that. But, some of the PR blunders and trying to negotiate stadiums and threatening to leave and 2 city plans to Montreal, and, he's not going to be loved in this community because of those. But what he did for the baseball team itself has been, you don't want to say a miracle, but it's, what the A's did with Moneyball early. I mean, they took it to another level, and it's lasted longer.
Right. I don't think people realize what they're going to miss until he's gone.
Well, we'll see what the new owner does. I mean, if he leaves things alone and Kevin Cash stays and Neander and they stay and maybe they put more resources and do more and he gets a stadium built, it may be better. We'll see. But there's no guarantee of any of that.
Right. Well, from a baseball standpoint, and if I'm a member of the organization, I'm nervous because everybody that comes in has their own people, right? Mm-hmm. They may say they want to keep, the front office, or they want to keep the elements that work, but there's still going to be other opinions. There's still going to be other people that want jobs that are friends of these guys,
mm-hmm.
and relatives,
and guys that have been there a long time.
Right.
Eric Neander, Kevin Cash may say, you know what, I'm ready for a new challenge.
Yeah. It's an opportunity for them to rethink
mm-hmm.
what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're look at War on Joe Madden, and he took advantage of Andrew Friedman leaving, and there was a clause that gave him a chance to get out, and he did. And all he did was go to an iconic baseball city, the Chicago Cubs, and won a damn Super Bowl or World Series. Could have won a Super Bowl, won a World Series. So it worked out for him. And oh, by the way, Andrew Friedman doing just fine at the Dodgers with his $250 million payroll. Thank you. That's the thing, is that these guys use that ownership change to better themselves. And there were plenty of people wanting to hire them because of the success they had. So I think it's pretty likely that you're going to see the same sort of exodus, maybe not all at once, but.
Well, we'll see. I mean, the new owners could come in and go, hey, Eric, we're adding $30 million to your payroll.
They could. And
what do you need to do better? What more scouting or analytics or resources or whatever do we need to, what facilities do we need to attract better free agents or whatever? I mean, it's an unknown.
It is.
What we're hearing reported so far sounds good from the new owners, but it's reports and.
Well, but if you pay $1.7 billion for something that was supposedly valued at 1.2, 1.25,
mm-hmm.
right, and you don't have a stadium, i.e. revenue from a stadium that's not built yet, and it's going to be at least 3 years after you put a shovel in the ground, how much money do you have to spend, right, on payroll? How much extra are you going to come up with?
Well, but that's where, these owners are more, they have a lot more cash, and we don't know who some of the other owners are too.
Yeah, it's a group, right? It's a group, and it's a
group, and they have more money than Stu does.
Yeah.
Now they're paying 1.7 for the team, so
they clearly have more money,
a big chunk. But that's always been, I think, part of the issue with Stu is he's wealthy, but he's not rich enough to go build a stadium on his own. He needs the help.
Right.
Some of these owners Jerry Jones can go build AT&T Stadium on his own.
Yeah.
Kroenke can go build SoFi Stadium on his own.
Yeah.
Stu's not that level. I mean, he's richer than you and I will ever be. Well, unless we, break the internet with our podcast here.
Well, I'm going to have Taylor Swift on, so.
Okay, well, good.
That's what it would take.
But he's not at a level where he can do that on his own, where some owners are. And, this new ownership group, if you're paying $1.7 billion, you presumably have a lot more money.
You got deep pockets, yeah. And I hope they do spend on players. I think we'll know soon. I think they'll the first press conference. I mean, that's an early question, right? Hey, new owner guy. What do you think your payroll's at $100 million? Where do you see it going next year? Are you competing for top of the rung free agents?
Yep.
And you got to have an answer. It can't be we'll see.
Well,
Got
I'm
it.
sure at the first press conference, the answer is going to be we're going to sit down and talk about that and what's needed and what
right.
And look, if they increase the payroll, let's say $30 million. I'm just throwing numbers out there. It may
Yeah.
not happen the first year. It may be tiered.
It could be
Because in year 3, 4, or 5, you're hopefully getting a new stadium, which is going to have a ton more revenue.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, you can't really do it with the Trops revenues right now, and they're going to have to extend that. They'll be there at least through 2028, I think.
Well, sure. I mean, sure.
Yeah.
It's 26, 27, 20. I mean, it's going to take. They're going to be there through 29 or 30.
God, is that
depending on when they figure out where the stadium is.
Oh my God.
I mean, technically they have to play there through 28 in the lease. They have 3 more years.
Yeah,
left.
you're right. So they'll extend it by a couple of years.
Yeah.
Probably
Now,
30.
If 27 doesn't happen, that I don't know how that affects the lease.
Right.
With the CBA being up, but we'll see about that. But look, if they were to the sale finished today, and let's say in 2 weeks the owners approve it.
Mm-hmm.
September 1, the sale's through, new owners take over. How quick can you figure out where the stadium is? It takes about 3 years to usually build them.
Yeah.
That's assuming you don't have to clear something else out of the way first in that. It could take longer.
Well, I can tell you that they're well into the process of trying to not just identify, but make a decision.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But then you got to have plans. Then you've got to have,
Yeah, you have approval.
I mean, just because you picked out the site doesn't mean you're digging right away.
No, there's a lot of bureaucracy that goes with it.
Well, but you also have to design. How do I want the stadium to look? How do what do I want in the stadium? How big? How?
I'll draw you a picture, man. Sit down right here.
So at earliest, let's say there's a shovel in the ground midsummer next year. I mean, that'd be early, I think.
Yeah.
So then, that's mid 26, 27, 28, 29. You're playing through 29 at the Trop. You're not in the new stadium till 30.
It's going to be shaped like a stingray. I already know.
There you go.
Giant stingray covered stadium. Has to be climate controlled, by the way. Has to be. Just too hot, man. Their experience
I would
taught them anything. It's that.
Well, except how much did fans love being outside in April and May there?
They did, but the season doesn't end in May. That's the problem because they hated being out there.
Do you put a retractable roof? Do you put a retractable roof on?
Well, if you listen,
and then you could put real grass in there, which the players would love better too.
Right. If you're going to go, with the, sort of the Mercedes model, yeah, I think you do. I think if you're all in on that, but that roof, the cost benefit to open that thing every time, and how many times you're really going to have it open,
Well, you hope it's going to be open for 2 months to start the season.
Yes, you do. That's true.
As we've seen, how great was outdoor baseball the first 2 months of the year?
Oh, it was fantastic. I mean, it was literally fantastic.
And it's still great now. It's just a lot hotter.
It's just a lot warmer, yeah. And you'll get some rain, but they still haven't had, I don't believe, their first rain out, right?
Nope.
Just a washout didn't happen.
2 hour and 40 some minute delay, but that was it.
I actually think that Major League Baseball hurt the Rays, and the Rays hurt themselves. Whoever agreed to flipping the schedule and going on the road this much, I really do.
Yep.
It was a bad decision, and it was made worse when they said, "Okay, we could do that." Like just looking for anything. I don't know. So, what do you make of the Rays? Speaking of them, we'll get out of here in a minute. But what do you make of the Rays bringing up some of these young kids now? Is this a white flag?
No, I don't think it's a white flag.
We're almost to September, so
yeah, I think it's. Look, these young kids. The odds of making the playoffs at this point are
remote at best.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, at worst case, Bob Seymour looks like is coming up.
Seymour's coming up, yeah.
And he's hit 30 home runs at Durham this year.
30 bombs in Durham. Okay, Crash Davis. Jesus.
First of all, you want to reward these guys. But you also want to give them a taste, so they've got something to work on this offseason.
Carson Williams.
I expect to see Carson Williams up here at some point. I think so. I don't know for how long.
A month. Give me September.
Yeah.
But
sometimes you give that taste in their mouth.
Yeah.
But also they come up here and I was talking the other day to someone about this, that the difference in AAA to Major League pitching is so dramatic, more than it's ever been.
Oh, I bet it is. Yeah.
It is. It is. And hitters young guys that come up will tell you, oh my goodness, it's like you can jump from A to AA and then to AAA, and the pitching gets better every rung, right?
Mm-hmm.
The difference between AAA and the majors today is incredible. And everyone in baseball will tell you that. Like it's such a big jump now.
Well, velocity is the biggest thing that's going in baseball. That's
but
changed.
It's the spin. It's how much spin and how much break.
Everything's breaking. Now everything's moving, and if you put and they do this all the time. If you overlay one pitch selection over the motion of the pitcher, they're identical windups, identical releases, and the ball is moving left, right, up, down. In other words, there's no detection in how the guy is throwing the ball. You have no reads at all on the pitcher. It's crazy to think that you can get. I just love that graphic where the ball's headed and it just flares out to 25 different directions. Out of his hand. It's crazy.
And I think Seymour's coming up. And you asked about red flag, but I think Seymour's the first one up because Aranda's hurt, and they could use help at first base.
They could use help at first. Yeah, they have an opening for him, and
So Carson Williams comes up. Who are you sitting?
Well, right now Taylor Walls is down, so
he is. Hawks, Kim's your only shortstop, but you're either sitting him or Lau if you're going to sit second.
You're going to sit Lau, so you don't want to sit Kim either.
So to me, calling up Seymour is more about, hey, we need some help at first base.
We could use a first baseman right now.
We don't have Taylor Wall, so Kim's got to stay at short.
Right.
Which means Lau's going to play more second. We can't use him at first because we need him at second because we don't have Wall, so we need a first baseman. So Yandy Diaz can DH some, or Seymour can too. So I don't think this is not wave of the white flag. This is we need a first baseman.
Yeah, and you're at the point of the year where they do it, and these guys have earned it. They've earned it. They've earned a chance to play a month up here.
Yep.
So
that look, when Walls comes back or Aranda, if he comes back in September, Seymour may go back down.
Yeah,
although in September you get to add another hitter in September. Your roster goes to 28 from 26.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
You get one pitcher, one hitter to add in September now, because the minor league season's over at that point outside of playoffs. So we'll see. But yeah, this is not white flag to me. This is, we need a first baseman.
Well, let's see if they can take a series against the Giants. Obviously, they won the series against the A's, and if they do that, it's a pretty successful road trip. There's still a number of games left, not many at home, and they'd have to get on a run here. But
they're 4-5 on this road trip right now. So if they sweep, they go 7-5.
Yeah, which is not horrible, except that you needed to gain more ground than that.
Right. You were hoping 8-4 to start the trip.
Right.
The getting swept in Seattle ruined that.
That hurt,
But even if you take 2 of 3, you still went 500 on the trip. Not awful for a 12-game West Coast
just not gaining any ground.
No,
right?
You're not.
That's the problem. You're treading water.
Right.
Got to start winning series. You basically have to win every series from here on out, to be honest with you.
It would be advantageous, no question. And they won 2 of the 3 series on the road. The problem is you didn't lose the other series 2-1. You lost it 3-0.
3-0, yeah. You got swept, yeah.
Yeah, that Friday night game when you had the lead and blew it
that was
in
tough.
The 8th inning.
That was a disaster, yeah.
You needed that game.
Yep. No, bullpen let them down. That's been kind of the story this year. So, well, I'm going to get ready to watch the Bucs play on Saturday night, and you can check out TampaBay.com, Tampa Bay Times, for all the latest from up here in Pittsburgh. The Bucs will have a walkthrough. We will not be part of that contingent. It'll be this morning, and then they'll have their meetings and a little team bonding. Taking them on the road for the first time. You got guys able to room together and get to know each other a little bit better. So that's going to go on here, and then Saturday night's the game. Fly back on Sunday morning. We'll talk to Todd Bowles, and we'll see how we get ready for the final preseason. Man, I can't believe the final preseason game. This is going by really fast and yet slow at the same time. So that's the roster is kind of shaping up because of injuries, because of different things. There's some guys that need to get on the field that haven't played much, if at all.
Mm-hmm.
So they're running out of time. If you're Trey Palmer, right, like he's back, you got to go out there and make some plays. You got to make some plays.
Yep.
You got to remind people of what you can do, either in the punt game or whatever. And there's a lot of guys like that have missed time that need to get out there and start making big plays. So we'll see what they do on Saturday night. In the meantime, go see our friends at Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. We talk about the NFL. They got 32 different team watches. The Chronomat watches are beautiful with the team colors, the logos inside, and then watches for your wife, your girlfriend as well. Sports watches, they're absolutely stunning. It is Breitling Boutique International Plaza. Make sure you let them know that you heard about it right here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. For Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great weekend, everybody.